Labels aren't people, and people aren't labels. Labeling children can lead to inappropriate behavior that can affect their mental health. PeopleFirst Language is a concept that I strongly believe in since being a special education teacher in private practice. If you're wondering what I'm even talking about, here's an example. Pretend you're walking down the street with your child, and your child says, "Look, there's a broken-legged man." What would you say to your child? You'd most likely correct your child's grammar and say, "No, honey, that's a man with a broken leg." PeopleFirst Language is about using the word with, a man with a broken leg, a child with Down syndrome, a person with ADHD. If you do not put the word with before stating a label, you are labeling the person. Without the word with, you are also saying that the label is permanent. I've spent over 30 years pulling children out of biochemical labels by sending them to the right providers. Looking at the body from a chemical and nutritional point of view has been beneficial for me and the parents of my clients. Understanding various labels and their needs, children's needs especially, helps everyone to look beyond behaviors. I believe that all behavior is communication. Let's look at the ADHD label that is so freely given to school-age children these days. It stands for Hyperactivity Attention Deficit Disorder. But for some kids, it's a blood sugar imbalance that's so extremely out of control that their adrenals are needing to overproduce. This can cause the occipital areas in the back of the head to become compressed. A craniosacral therapist can release the compressed occipital lobes as well as teach parents to do the same. There is even an entire therapy that's based on the ears and the earlobes. Just like our hands and feet, energy points in our ears are connected to our bodies. Pulling slightly on the ears or massaging the lobes has a calming effect. A stressed neurological system creates overwhelm. A weak sensory motor system can alter IQ scores. Labels are a way to signal that something is off so interventions can be sought. In schools, labels help you to get services for your child. Kids can't tell you why they behave the way they do. People dealing with ADD, ADHD have a difficult time getting enough neural energy up to the prefrontal cortex of the brain, or academic level of the brain. Things also must be moving fast, angry. When we hear of the label of ADHD, we often think of ants in the pants, perhaps an image of a child who can't settle down. ADHD is actually a tired and sluggish brain that needs movement to stay alert. The more tired the brain, the more movement you'll see. Dyslexia is a label associated with a reading disorder. It's actually a gift. There's even a book, The Gift of Dyslexia. It's the ability to see in 3D from above. Architects tend to be people who deal with dyslexia because it's their gift. It's a stage of development that all children go through. When a baby is laying on its back and can recognize, for example, its mother looking into the crib from all sides, the baby is now in the dyslexic phase of development. During this stage of development, letters and numbers float around in space. Even astronauts in an anti-gravity environment tend to reverse letters. This is called transient space dyslexia. Knowing where one is in space is crucial to reading and writing. Children get to develop into and out of transient space dyslexia. They also need the support of parents, teachers, and alternative integrative professionals. Children cannot be expected to put together the puzzle pieces of what they are really dealing with and what is getting in the way of their learning. What used to seem impossible in pulling children out of labels is now quite possible. I have witnessed it for myself. Neuroplasticity is a wonderful new science that brings with it discoveries of how to successfully repattern the brain. Helping a child out of a label is about using the right tools. You wouldn't use a screwdriver to hammer a nail, right? Children can work out of a label with consistent, proper nutrition and biochemical treatments balanced with learning and neurodevelopmental therapies. I teach My Hand is My Helper. This works great for anxiety and before taking a test. Pretend there's a wire coming out of the out of the emotional side of your brain and a wire coming out of the logical side of your brain. Putting your hand over your forehead crosses those energetic wires and allows you to use both sides. Another way to integrate both sides of your brain is to do what I call cross-marching. This is done by placing a hand on the opposite knee as you march in place. As your hand crosses the midline of your body, it turns on both sides of your brain. Remember the progress that Helen Keller made with her teacher Annie? I agree with Helen. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. It's not as important to empower your child with PeopleFirst Language as it is to empower yourself. Knowing what lies under labels and how to shift them, or better yet, work children out of them, is key. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, medical professional, or a member of our community, I believe that it is important to be aware of individual differences and be able to use PeopleFirst Language. Thank you.